My absent dad came back in my life and I wasn't ready. Forgiveness tested my identity. 2 to 3 weeks later, after my grandmother passed away, my biological dad comes back into my life by sending me an email apologizing for not being in my life and said he hoped we could have a relationship. And at first I was like, heck no, I just buried my last parent. I'm not looking for another one. That same week, my girlfriends and I went to see the movie The Forge. And in the movie, the main character ends up forgiving his absent father. And I remember thinking, like, Lord, is that me? Fine, okay. Like, I see loud and clear, okay? It was perfect timing. By day 7, I knew that God brought my dad back into my life for a purpose, for a reason. But I assumed the purpose was more for his sake than mine. Like, I was supposed to be leading him to Christ. But still, I needed to know why God brought him back. Before I said yes to a relationship, I told him I wanted to get a DNA test. He wasn't listed on my birth certificate, but my maiden name is his last name, okay? But I only remember seeing him maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, and most of that I don't remember. My older brother and I look like twins, so growing up I never thought we had different dads, and my brother's dad's family claimed me too, so I knew that there were 2 men out there who could be my father, but I never really cared because my great-grandfather raised me, and that's all that mattered to me. That was my dad. So back to the story. He gets the test done. They send me my test. I mail mine in, and they say it would be about 2 weeks for the results to come in. I didn't want to get too attached because, like, what if that wasn't my dad? And I didn't want to build a relationship with someone who could have been, but wasn't. It just wasn't something I wanted to entertain, okay? But during the 2 weeks, we started emailing back and forth, and then we started texting back and forth. And so a fun fact that I learned was my dad told me he was married, and he mentioned his wedding anniversary was August 4th. I was like, stop lying, because that's my anniversary date. The same date, 4 years apart. But I remember thinking, what are the freaking odds? Like, that moment did something for me. It didn't prove anything yet, but it definitely softened me. It made me pause and think, maybe this isn't just a coincidence, and this is probably going to be your dad. So then the day finally arrives, and we get the results back, and it's 99.999999999 accurate. You are the father. So it was a wonderful feeling, finally knowing, like, for sure who my dad was and realizing I now had access to him. But it was also a little sad because my brother and I realized we've been half siblings our whole lives. It didn't really change our relationship. It just changed the story that we had always told ourselves. But on the positive side, with my dad came his family, his 2 sisters and his mom. And so suddenly I have a grandma again. And a new little brother. Well, he's not really little. He's 2 years younger than me. And my brother just so happens to have 2 sons around the same age as my kids. Over time, I became even more grateful that I had a relationship with my Heavenly Father before my biological dad came back into my life. Because if I hadn't, I don't know if I would have been able to forgive him or even accept him. But God had already done the internal work, so I had the capacity to receive him with grace. Through my relationship with my biological dad, I discovered things about myself I never even knew existed. And through that discovery, my identity got tested again. I never thought I had daddy issues because I grew up in a 2-parent household, but looking back, it was like God needed me to walk through that season to remember who I really was. A child of God. And yes, I learned how much my dad and I are alike. It's crazy how genes work because I've never lived a day with this man, but we act a lot alike, okay? But while all of this is happening, my husband gets laid off. The company that he was working for just closes their doors. Another disruption. And by that point, I realized something. All of this was completely out of my control. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't manage it. I couldn't think my way through it, so I did the only thing I knew left to do. I surrendered.